Captain Tom Sturgis of the Buffalo, New York Police Department. And this, a murder weapon, cost our city thousands of dollars in time and manpower spent before it was recovered. In just a moment, I'll tell you how it figured in cracking the Odell Griffin case. Early in July, Buffalo was hit by a series of safe jobs and holdups. All efforts to use the underworld grapevine ran up against a stone wall. In the middle of the wave, a bandit held up a theater manager during the evening when the house was packed. He walked out with more than $2,000 and casually escaped with the departing patrons. But no one was injured by the gang until the morning of September 9th.
Don't make a sound. Take it easy, lady, and you'll be all right.
Hey, what's going on here?
Better pull the shade. Turn around.
Look, mister, give me a break.
You get a break. Get that tray of unmounted stones. Don't take anything else.
What about him?
You wanted a break? All right, you've got it.
When the day's clerk called headquarters, we threw up roadblocks covering every exit from Buffalo, and the Peace Bridge into Canada was notified. By the time Sergeant Ed Williams and I arrived, the coroner had pronounced the owner of the store to be dead and the body had been removed. And the girl, Alice, was able to give us a fair description of the two men inside the store. She indicated the presence of a third man, but was vague about any salient points. Is there anything else you can remember?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm so mixed up. Everything was all right at first, and then they pulled their guns, and Mister was on the floor, and I...
Can we get a squad car to drive you home?
No, thanks. I've got some friends coming down to pick me up.
Well, you better get some rest. I sent the bulletins out, Captain. Anything else? Found this on the floor. From the clerk, Alice, we got our first descriptions of the killers. From the laboratory, our first clue. The sliver of wood was identified as being the type used for the grips of certain foreign pistols, principally the German Luger. All efforts to identify them from mug shots on file were futile. If the gang was a local outfit, we hadn't spotted them yet.
Maybe they're from Canada.
Maybe. But both the Canadian and American customs have been mighty tough these past few weeks. Sooner or later, they'd catch them smuggling those guns across.
Finger man on this side. Spots the jobs, furnishes the firearms.
Could be. But our police percentage of unsolved murders is less than 3%. A record like that doesn't attract outside hoodlums. Homicide, Captain Sturgis. Yes, sir. Oh. Why, of course you did the right thing by calling. And what was your name again? Miss Bassett? And the address? We'll be over right away.
Lead?
Yeah.
How many does that make since the paper hit the street?
No, it's about 100, but this one sounds good. She knows who they are. I knew your father, Ellie. I was downstairs the morning those mobsters killed him during the jailbreak. He was a fine man.
Thank you, Captain Sturgis. I guess that's why I called. Dad gave his life for police work. And if I can help you catch these criminals...
I'll start at the beginning and take it in sequence.
Well, it was about 8:30 in the morning. I remember because it was kind of slow, like it is now. And I always read the comic section. Well, the headlines caught my eye. And I just finished reading the description of the two hold-up men when Frank and his friends walked in.
What's Frank's last name?
Griffin. Frank Griffin.
What made you suspect him?
Well, I'd had several dates with Frank and...
Recently?
No, several years ago. Well, I got to studying them as they sat in the booth, and all of a sudden I got a hunch.
Where does Griffin live?
I don't know. He never did tell me. But I think it's somewhere in Canada.
Do you know the town?
No.
What makes you think he's Canadian?
Oh, things he'd say. Words that sounded different. He paid for the coffee with Canadian money.
You were talking about Griffin's friends. Did you know them? Did he call any of them by name? Or a nickname?
No, I'm sure he didn't. In fact, he made quite a point of not introducing them.
Would you have a snapshot of him?
I didn't like him that well. But you may have a picture.
What?
I said you may have a picture in your files. You see, several years ago, Frank stole a car here in Buffalo, and they deported him.
Ellie Bassick spotted the photograph and identified it as that of Frank Griffin. Our record showed he'd been arrested in 1942 for car theft and had been deported.
Well, that's Frank, all right. Boy, has he changed. He was just a kid when this was taken.
16. How has he changed?
Oh, older, mature, mustache. Here, I'll show you.
You can't deface an official photograph.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to help.
Well, the timing was wrong, but the idea is great. You just helped a lot. It may trap a killer. Using an artist, the photograph, and the several descriptions, we had a composite sketch drawn of suspect Frank Griffin. Victims testified it was a striking resemblance. We gave it to the Buffalo papers and hoped for some results.
I tell you, it looks just like me.
It's lousy. Immigration will never spot you from that.
You can say that. It's my neck they'll stretch.
Relax. I'm in this, too. Here's the American side. Pay the quarter.
We stayed too long in Buffalo. I told you we should have headed right back.
We're going back. I got a date with Ginger. Got a present for her.
That ring could hang us. Throw it away.
The heat's off.
I guess this picture isn't heat. If they spot me at this bridge...
They won't. All they'll ask is, where were you born? You tell them in Ottawa. Maybe they'll search the trunk.
On a station wagon?
So we go in without a search.
The bridge is hot. I want identification.
Naturally. That's the reason I got the phony papers. I knew something like this was going to happen someday. The only chance we're taking is that they'll recognize that sketch.
Looks just like me.
It's lousy. Only one of us can be right, and it better be me.
Where were you born?
Ottawa.
And you, sir?
Winnipeg.
Will you open the trunk?
In a station wagon?
It's a matter of habit.
Is that all?
You may go through. Just a moment. Your identification, please.
I've been crossing this bridge half my life, but nobody ever asked me for my papers.
That newspaper picture reminded me of something. Your papers, please. Yours, please. Not a very flattering picture. You may go through, gentlemen.
During the next few days, Ed and I ran down 100 worthless clues. By the grapevine, we'd sent word to the underworld that we suspected a fingerman in the case, and that when we caught him, we'd throw the book at him as an accomplice to murder. On Friday afternoon, it paid off. The call was from a character we'd known as Rudy. His background was as dim as the view we took of some of his activities. This might well be another false alarm, but with the commissioner and the newspapers putting on the pressure for a quick capture, we couldn't afford to turn down even a slim possibility.
Think the guy who phoned knows anything?
He didn't call up just to get a free ride. We're getting close to Griffin. Don't look a gift horse in the teeth.
Hey, look at that.
What?
Sign back there. $39 for a bike.
You need exercise?
My kid wants one for Christmas.
Thought it was a Geiger counter.
And a bike.
Ease up. You'll be standing in the middle of the next block.
Gotta be English, though. That him?
Yeah. Pull over. Just cruise around, Ed.
How are you, Captain?
Don't stall, Rudy. You sent for me.
Take the next side street, will you, Captain? I don't want my friends to
I know.
see me.
What do you want?
You see, sometimes a guy gets a few tough breaks. You know, like a rap or something, and through no fault of his, even though he's innocent, something happens that puts him in a tough spot.
Your story touches me very deeply, Rudy. I'm a busy man. Get to the point.
Well, I just want to make sure you understand before I, well, say something that might incriminate me, and I
Pull over, Ed.
No. I'll come to the point. Like I said on the phone, this guy from Canada came to see me. Him and his pal.
2 of them?
Yes, sir.
Names?
No, sir. You know how it is, Captain.
When did they come to you?
10:30 in the morning. Day of the shooting.
How did you know it was the same day?
Now, don't cross me up, Captain. I'd read it in the paper. You see, the shooting was at...
I know what time the shooting was, Rudy. What did they want?
To fence some stuff. I told them, no deal, Captain. That's the truth. I don't fence. You know that, don't you, Captain? Here, I'll prove it to you. If I wasn't, would I be giving you this? No. I wouldn't be giving you this. I'd ditch it.
Like you did the other one, Rudy?
You're talking crazy, Captain. They didn't give me no other gun.
They must have, Rudy. They didn't want to get caught taking these guns into Canada. This Luger is a piece missing from the grip. Who gave it to you?
Frank Griffin.
He used it to club Barossa. But Barossa didn't die. And it stands to reason if they ditched this, they'd also ditch the murder gun. You better jog your brains, Rudy, and come up with some fresh memory.
You got me, Captain. I'm basically an honest man. And I couldn't lie to you. I admire you.
Where did you ditch it, Rudy?
In the river.
Why?
Well, that was before I knew a .38 killed the jeweler. Honest, Captain, I wouldn't ditch a murder rod. I swear I didn't know it. I don't want no part of murder.
Why didn't you get rid of both of the guns, Rudy?
Well, I always wanted to own a Luger, you know, so, well...
And so, well, you didn't want to own a cheap $100 American gun, so you just threw it away, huh?
That's right, Captain. You hit it right on the head.
Well, I'm going to take you down to the spot so you can show me where you tossed that gun. You better hit it right on the head, or I'm liable to do the same to you.
Yes, sir, Captain. I'm with you. Oh, but afterward, I'd like to walk home, if you don't mind. You know, my friends,
Yeah, we know. Rudy indicated the spot on the Michigan Avenue Bridge from which he had thrown the weapon. We gathered several divers, gear, and equipment, and began the search. The Buffalo River moves a lot of water under the Michigan Avenue Bridge every minute of every hour of every day of the year. We We divided the search area into squares of 25 feet and assigned one area to each of the 3 divers. And somewhere at the bottom, in the silt and mud and slush and debris, churned by the current, was an object small enough to fit into your pocket. While the men were below, those on deck used magnets. They brought up one propeller, one roller skate, one mousetrap, and several other items. You'd be surprised at the useful things people will throw away. For 5 days, 3 men searched squares 5 feet square until they had covered 40,000 square feet of silt. One diver double-checking another's work. On deck they waited. Down below, the grubbing and stumbling went on. Then, 25 feet from the bridge and 23 feet under the water, they found it. We rushed it to the police laboratory, where it was positively identified as the gun which had fired the bullet that killed the jeweler.
I got a fill-in from Hamilton, Ontario. Griffin lives there. He's got a sidekick named Maurice Odell. They serve time together. They're inseparable. Odell's got a girlfriend named Ginger.
How about the 3rd suspect?
Nothing.
You better get your money changed.
We going to Canada? Maybe I can get a bike there for my kid.
Or a slug. With identifications by Ellie Bassick, Rudy, and Alice, the clerk in the jewelry store, we had enough corroborating evidence to make an arrest. The possession of the murder weapon was the clincher. Sergeant Ed Williams and I stopped at the Peace Bridge where they were expecting us. Immigration officials passed us into Canada. We took the Queen Elizabeth Way toward Hamilton, where we knew Captain William McAllister was expecting us.
Captain Sturgis. Sergeant Williams?
Sir?
You made good time.
Your escort met us 10 miles out and brought us through the traffic.
Splendid. I've also made some good time. Frank Griffin is in town. He's been seen twice since last night.
Is Odell with him?
We think so. They're inseparable.
Under surveillance?
As a matter of fact, no. We had no request from you to take action, and we didn't want to flush the wary bird. But they can't leave the city, I've seen to that. As for the 3rd man, he's still at large. But your office cabled good news after you left. I took the liberty of reading it. Opened by intentional mistake, you know.
What does it say?
Your stoolie, as we call him, has identified the 3rd man. Now, if you gentlemen will come with me, I think we can find the men you want.
You know where they live?
No. But I believe the old saying which concerns the spice of life. In this case, her name is Ginger. After you, gentlemen. That is Ginger.
Not bad. Accidental?
9 out of 10.
Show me sometime.
It's no secret to throw straight. You just got to think straight. Want a game?
Ladies aren't allowed.
Oh?
Billy just lets me practice when there aren't customers around.
How about buying you another beer?
Ladies aren't allowed to drink in the bar.
But Billy just lets you practice?
Yeah. You boys from out of town?
I'm just passing through. Sit down?
Well, just until the customers arrive.
Get the lady a beer, will you, Ed?
Sure. Just for practice.
Seen Maurice lately?
Maurice who?
Odell.
I don't believe I know the name.
I know yours, Ginger.
Say, what are you, a cop?
We want to see Odell, Ginger. It's important.
I told
And
you...
Griffin, too.
I never heard of him.
It's a mighty good-looking ring.
2-carat diamond with 15 chips, right, Ginger?
I don't know anything about it.
That ring belongs to a clerk in the jewelry store, Ginger. The owner of the store is dead.
Dead?
Murdered.
I don't know anything about it. Really, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to get mixed up in a murder.
You are mixed up in it, Ginger.
So tell us where to find Griffin.
Well?
Number 15 Underhill Street.
See what can happen when you start thinking straight?
Some days it just doesn't pay a girl to live.
Thanks for stepping aside and letting us have first crack at this.
Under the reverse circumstances, I'd expect you to do as much for me. Good luck.
Who is it?
Telegram.
Shove it under the door.
I'm sorry, sir, but it must be receded.
Cops, get dressed.
But I really must get this receded.
They're on to us.
What's the matter? What's this all about? What do you want me for?
Well, it isn't for overtime parking.
Maurice Odell, Frank Griffin, I place you both under arrest.
On what charges?
Murder.
You'll never bring me to trial, wise guy. I'm a Canadian. I'll fight extradition.
It's the second fight you've lost recently. It wasn't easy to go back without our prisoners, but extradition takes time, and in police work, you've learned to be patient.
We'll hold them in jail until you can work out the papers with our governments.
Any danger of them escaping? Odell did once.
He won't do it again.
In Albany, we had a warrant signed. The request for extradition went to Washington, and within 3 weeks was signed by the president. Transmitted to Ottawa, signed by the Prime Minister, and remanded to the jailer at the Norton Street Jail. 6 months of work was over. Buffalo's unsolved murder percentage was still under 3%. The commissioner would be happy.
Why so glum? Bad news.
For who?
The kid.
What happened?
I asked Captain McAllister where I could find an English bike.
What'd he say?
Didn't know. People in Canada make their own.
Tough.
There's more.
Yeah?
He wants me to find one for him.
The trial of Frank Griffin and Maurice Odell was held in Buffalo. After deliberating only 90 minutes, the jury found them guilty of murder in the first degree. On the night of January 8th, both men were put to death in the electric chair.
Gangbusters, created by Phillips H. Lord. The case you have heard tonight was based upon police records, court records, and personal interviews.